The game of American football has been around for generations. It just hasn't always looked like what it does today. The sport we all love today didn't start with the rules, teams, and style of play that we're used to seeing on Sundays. I'm qualified to talk about this topic because I've done extensive research over the past few weeks on it. Important people, events, and rule changes throughout time changed the game that we know today. I'm going to go over three different subjects with you guys. One being the origins of football, the developing years of football, and the modern style of American football. American football as we know it started off with an interesting origin. 1869, Rutgers-Princeton college soccer football game, the first of its kind. Rugby then began to take that over, and then from rugby, the modern football began to form. In 1876, the first rules of American football made at the Massasoit Convention. As the history staff said in the September 25th, 2013 article, Who Invented Football? He was the guiding force on the rule board of the newly formed Intercollegiate Football Association, IFA. Walter Camp, also known as the father of football, was the first to be involved and the one to really push the rules and get the game going. In 1892, a Yale All-American was the first player to go pro, receiving $500 to play in a game. And now we look into the developing years of football, and there's some rule changes that took place that changed the game. In 1898, a touchdown changed from 4 to 5 points. In 1904, a field goal went from 5 to 4 points, and then later on dropped in 1909 from 4 to 3 points. And in 1906, the forward pass was finally legalized, and in 1912, the touchdown increased to 6 points, as it is today. In 1920, there was a state of confusion. There was rising salaries, players moving around the league for the highest offer, and the use of players while they were still in college. American Pro Football Conference was then established after a meeting in Canton, Ohio. The APFC then changed to the APFA, the American Pro Football Association. That league consisted of 6 teams to start, and then 4 were added later that year. Jim Thorpe, a former player in the league and also an outstanding athlete, became its first ever president of that league. In 1921, the league was bumped up to 22 teams, including a team that you guys may know as well, the Green Bay Packers. On June 24th, 1922, APFA became the NFL. And years went by and teams were also added. But in 1959, the AFL was established, which included several teams. And the NFL and the AFL would butt heads for years to come, with fights over viewers and fights over fans. Finally, the NFL and AFL would come together to have a championship game, which the first one consisted of the Packers versus the Chiefs, also known as Super Bowl I, and the Packers defeated the Chiefs in that game. After a decade, the two leagues finally merged into a major super league, NFL. As Ed Grover said in his 2011 novel, The American Football League, A Year-by-Year History, football was their nation's #1 spectator sport. And now we go on to the modern style of play, which we have the NFL, and you have 2 conferences, the AFC, which is the American Football Conference, and the NFC, which is the National Football Conference. And the winner of those 2 conferences go throughout the playoffs, and the winner of the NFC and the AFC meet together in what we call the Super Bowl. Now, as the editors of the article National Football League on the Encyclopedia Britannica said, the NFL survived many years of instability and competition from rival organizations to become the strongest American pro football league. So they had to endure so much just to come out at the top. And in conclusion, the people, events, and rule changes all had a part in developing true, modern, gridiron football. The sport we all love today didn't start with the rules, teams, and style of play that we're used to seeing on Sundays. Everything in life has a backstory. Every person, place, or thing has gone through an experience which has shaped them into what they are today. American football is just so rich in history. People still think it's just a game.